Zohar Miketz Daf 194b to 195a. And he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and all the wise men thereof, to wit, the bird diviners. They all tried to make out the dream, but it baffled them. Rabbi Isaac said, although it has been affirmed that no man is shown anything in a dream save what falls within his own grade, it is different with kings, who are permitted to see more deeply than other men. For inasmuch as a king's grade is higher than that of other men, he is permitted to see that which falls within a higher grade than that of other men. So Scripture says, what God is about to do, he hath shown unto Pharaoh. Whereas to other men, God does not reveal what he is about to do, except to the prophets, saints, or sages of that generation. Now observe the words, me he restored unto mine office, and him he hanged. From this we learn that a dream is determined by its interpretation, since the pronoun he can refer only to Joseph, indicating that it was Joseph who restored the one to his office and hanged the other through the medium of his interpretation. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him quickly, vayiritzuhu, out of the dungeon. Rabbi Abba discoursed on the verse, the Lord taketh pleasure in them that fear him, in those that wait for his mercy. God indeed takes pleasure in the righteous, he said, because they promote peace in the upper world and in the lower world, and cause the bride to join her husband. And therefore God takes pleasure in those that fear him and do his will. Those that wait for his mercy are they who study the Torah in the nighttime, and thereby become associates of the Shekhinah. And thus, when the morning comes, they wait for his mercy. For as has been affirmed, whoso studies the Torah in the nighttime is looked upon graciously in the daytime. So Scripture says, by day the Lord will command his loving kindness, or grace. For what reason? Because in the night his song is with me. Hence the Lord takes pleasure in those that fear him, or, as we might translate more accurately, appeases those that fear him, like one friend with another. Similarly, of Joseph, here it is written, vayiritzuhu, and they brought him hastily, which admits of the rendering, and they appeased him. When he was sad and woe begone, giving him words of good cheer that gladdened his heart and dissipated the gloom of the dungeon. Observe that just as his troubles commenced through his having been thrown into the pit, so it was through the pit that he finally was exalted. Rabbi Shimon said, before that incident of Potiphar's wife, Joseph was not called righteous, tzaddik. It was only after he stood the test of guarding the purity of the covenant that he was called righteous, and that the grade of the holy covenant was crowned through him, and having been with him in the first pit, rose with him now. And thus it is written, and they brought him quickly out of the pit. He was raised from the pit and crowned by the well of living waters. And Pharaoh sent, and he called Joseph instead of, and called we should have expected to call for. The implied subject is therefore God, as in the verse, and he called to Moses. And this harmonizes with the words of the psalmist, until the time that his word came to pass, the word of the Lord tested him. And he changed his raiment out of respect for royalty, as explained elsewhere. Rabbi Elazar quoted here the text, Israel also came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham. God, he said, while accomplishing his decrees, yet directs events in such a manner as to soften their severity. For we have learned that but for the love which God bore to our ancestors, Jacob would have been brought down into Egypt in iron chains. But out of his love for the patriarchs, he caused his son Joseph to be made ruler of the world. And so all the tribes went down into Egypt like people of distinction, and Jacob entered it like a king. In the verse, Israel also came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham. We may take Israel to be an allusion to the Holy One, blessed be he, for it was for the sake of Jacob, who sojourned in the land of Ham, and his sons, that the Shekhinah came to Egypt.